I just wondered if we could touch very lightly at the beginning on your very beginnings, your own beginnings in film. What was your first movie, for example?
The first movie was a British Lion movie. It caused a lot of excitement because it featured an open heart operation, and I think that was really the only exciting thing about it. But that had never been seen before in the cinema. And my father was playing, it was a story about a conflict between the young and the old, and I was literally imprisoned in an image of how the British film industry saw women in literally two kinds of ways. There was the way which Sylvia Sims knows all about, when they made me look like they made her look, hair up in a French pleat, and since human beings are supposed to have, if they're women, very curved mouths, I had to go in at 7 o'clock every morning and have a very big curved mouth painted over my very thin mouth. And since women are supposed to, all women at that time were supposed to have bosoms, either very big bosoms if you were Sabrina or if you were Diana Dawes, or modest bosoms if you were playing nice young ladies like me and Sylvia Sims. But bosoms you had to have, and I never have had much of a bosom. So I had a padded bra and stockings and flat shoes because I was tall. And I felt a very strange creature. I felt very frightened, and I wasn't very good. I didn't know why we were doing what we were doing, except I was very glad to get a chance to break through into films as they were then.
Yeah.
So in a way it was a good experience because I actually worked in the British film industry as it was before everything changed with the free cinema, Lindsay Anderson, Carol Rice, Tony Richardson, and all of them. And it was a pretty terrifying place. In the 60s, people were saying in America, because at that brief moment, anything that was British was considered to be fantastic, and anything that was American was supposed to be the bottoms. Then it all changed round again,
yes.
So on. And they were always saying, well, it's your classical training and so on. And I said, well, of course, classical training is wonderful, it's necessary, but really, I can't see what you're talking about. You've got fantastic actors that I admire, that I look up to. Aren't we getting things out of perspective here? Mm-hmm. And I think that is a hangover. That is sometimes there's still a view that screen acting is of a less caliber than theatre acting. I think screen acting is not only on a par, but I think anybody, I mean, I'm sure you, well, I better ask you in case I better not assume it. I feel I've learned an awful lot about working in the theatre from working in films.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you feel the same?
Absolutely, and it is quite hard to define what that is, except the ability to live in the moment, absolutely and completely, in a way that the theatre sometimes presupposes the next moment always, do you know, and the whole sequence of moments. We talked earlier, you were saying that the why of any enterprise is the most important thing in it. Why are we doing this? Why? What is the final objective of it all? And then, as you said, many problems disappear just because you're focused on the objective. So with Antonioni, what was the why of it?
Well, the why I understood that here I was working with somebody like Picasso.
Yeah.
And that you're not going to sit down by Picasso's side and say, why have you just completely erased this wonderful painting? And because perhaps at that moment he won't know why, or perhaps will not be able to talk about it until later. He's driven, and you have to go with his process, because after all, he's light years ahead of you.
Yeah.
And I felt the same way with Antonioni, that he's light years ahead and where he'd conceived everything and why. And I very seldom asked. I just thought the why is contained already in what he's given me to do. And if I do just what he's given me to do, we'll all find out why. But that's unusual.
Yes.
I think the main thing is the immediacy of film, that all filmmakers and all directors, whatever their points of view and whoever they're working and however they approach directing, it's based on the immediacy of a moment which cannot be approached in the formal way from, well, this happened, A, B, C, D, and this moment is F. So if it's F, then the letter that comes before F, A, B, C, D, E, will have to be overshadowing F. But that's not really how life is. And the cinema doesn't like that approach. You can feel it, you can smell it when you see a film where that approach has dominated too much.
A kind of linear, irrational,
yes,
logical.
Because life is full of sharp changes.
Yeah.
From quantity to quality, and the more that is caught in the individual approach of the filmmaker, the more we feel that life's there, and every time we feel that, I think this is where cinema has gained so much from ahead of theatre, which has tended to be bound by more formal approaches.
On Playing for Time, you all of you
Every
actresses
one of us had our heads
shaved your heads, and that was the actual shaving of the heads, as you say in the book, was a kind of, in a way, the moment that tipped you over into the reality of it.
Yes, it was crucial, because then only was it possible to understand why the Nazis did it. They did it to take people's humanity away from them, to make them into objects or animals. That's why they shaved the Jewish people's heads, to turn them into something like that had no name and had no history, to take away their humanity. But you can't know that however many times you read it, and you can feel for it. And I had read this history for many, many years, and studied it a lot. But until you see what happens to a human being when their hair is taken from them, man or woman, you don't know really the depths of what fascism was about. The thing is, our work has to be, now, I'm not sure if I attributed it correctly when I said it was Marcus Aurelius, but this is human, therefore we cannot say it disgusts me. It can be disgusting for a human being to do it, but we cannot say it disgusts me, therefore I do not want to know about it or touch it. If it's human, then as an actress, never mind being a human being too, but I have to know and understand, as a writer has to know and understand, and we've got to try and share any knowledge that we can, whether it's in statistical form or medical form or in artistic form or social form. What are these terrible problems we have? And if we say, I was really interested, now I will stop, Simon, because it is, but I was reading this wonderful book, dipping back into this wonderful book about Castle McCullers, by Virginia, what was her name?
Spencer Carr.
Spencer Carr, big book. And apparently, I read in this book that there was a big push to get Castle McCullers to cut a paragraph in her book in which the guys who are sitting on the porch say some very anti-Semitic remarks. And there was a big push to get her to cut it because it was anti-Semitic. And she said, in my view, quite rightly, I'm just showing how this society is. And that's what I've got to do. And it's real. And there is lynching, and there is anti-Semitism, and there is attempts to overcome all of this. And we can't have a sanitized literature in which all our human problems, which are so real, are cancelled away, in which everybody's nice. It's not true. It would be great if it were, but it isn't.